when you're dancing with somebody and there's this connection, it's absolutely magical. And that to me is that energy, that creative force. And it's like a conversation, but you're not talking to each other, you know, and you're feeling and sensing each other's energy and movements and cues through the body. And it's really powerful. The block and going, what is behind that? Is it that I don't feel I'm good enough? Is it that I'm not listening to it? What is it? What's behind that block? And then, you know, if you give that space, something else might emerge. But again, I think it's about really giving space, as you say, pausing, giving it breath and just flowing with it, tapping into what's the person's perception of the situation and what are the dynamics and relationship between the different elements or people in the system, and what needs to change here in order to free up the energy, allow more flow so that person can move forward in their life. There's a gift in that, in being in that place. So it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm acknowledging I'm here. What is the lesson here for me? What is the gift? Or unconsciously, who am I carrying something for? Maybe it isn't even yours. Yeah. Do you know, from the family constellations perspective, that traumas can get handed on, emotions and behaviors and patterns of being can get handed through generations. So this is where the work is really helpful in that sense, to look at, as you say, really looking at your inner landscape and I say perceptions of the world.
Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you, Klaudia.
So nice to see you. We were just having a chat right before, and of course the ideas were flowing and we were going and going, so it's time to start. And you are a wonderful friend in my life and I love having you here. You are great at incorporating different dimensions of creativity in your life, and you're always so full of uplifted energy. And I would love to share that with our viewers, and hopefully that will inspire them as well.
Well, thank you so much, Klaudia, for your lovely comments and for having me here.
Of course. And so what is creativity to you?
So I was actually having a think about this. What is it to me? And I was thinking, on a practical level, it's dancing, singing, acting, theatre, writing sometimes. But then really, what is creativity? I was thinking it's like a life force energy. It's like something that flows, I think, through me. It's like this new surge of excitement and like something that is propelling me, like to try something new and or try things in a different way. It's like those sparks of inspiration, or, you know, those ideas that you get. And I was thinking also around creativity is, how can I incorporate more of it into my life? And when you asked me the question as well, I was thinking, have I moved away from being creative? Because, you know, sometimes with work it can take over and it's like, oh, have I lost touch with my creativity? So I was thinking, how could I incorporate more into my daily routines? And I was thinking, like, even cooking. I've been creative with, I'll try new recipes. So I've attempted to try that more in the last while. And even with clothes. So I love clothes and I love colour. So I like to play with mixing and matching colours and fabrics and different clothes and things like that.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, that was my follow-up question. Like, what does it mean to you to live creatively and authentically expressed? And you've already touched on that you're allowing your internal landscape almost to be shown externally through your cooking, through your voice, through your presence.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think as well it can be, you know, if I really feel into it, it's like, okay, when I'm on stage, for example, I feel alive and I feel so full of this creative energy and really present and almost like invincible. Like, and there's a vulnerability in that as well. But I can't always be on stage, or I can't always be in a dance room. So how can I find it in much simpler ways? And even I was thinking, even in my, you know, on my way to work, try a new routine, or a routine. What's the word? Route. Yes, I'm thinking dancing. So try a new route to work, or try a different tea or coffee, and it's like, so allowing the new ideas to emerge, because you know yourself, or you're creating new neural pathways as well. So it's that sense of, how can I tap into that inner creativity in a different way?
Yeah, Joe Dispenza has lots of work around that, breaking the habit of being yourself, that we're just a bunch of habits stuck together, and if we're really stuck in the same monotonous task, then we just get stuck. And what I really love is making the mundane magical, because as you mentioned already, you're on stage and you've got all this life force, but then you have to come off stage at some point.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's this spiritual teaching that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
I like that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's really nice.
That you still have to wash the dishes. You still have to do the laundry. It's not this, you know, Buddha probably had people to do it, but he still had to eat and hydrate. So how can we make the mundane more magical, and then instill those elements of joy and play? Yeah. Even singing a song while we're washing the dishes. Yeah.
That, I really like that saying, but also what you're saying about making moments more magical, because there is magic in everything, really, isn't there? If you look out into nature, and the colors in nature, and the divine intelligence in everything, and the creativity. Sometimes I remember going for walks in nature, and I really sometimes study the colors and the patterns in leaves and flowers, and I'm like, oh, that'd be such an interesting pattern for like clothing or wallpaper or something. That inspiration is all around us, but it's actually being open to receive it, to see it, and then to, well, how does that influence me? Or just even acknowledge and enjoy it.
It's almost calling for that pause and that moment for you to detach from whatever you're doing, to actually be able to notice what's around you. And so almost creativity becomes more than an act, rather a way of seeing and a way of looking. And it's a beautiful way to also integrate into your life in general. That every situation we go through, there's so many different perspectives.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's just, I think what you're saying as well there is, I like that idea of, it's not something out there and over there that's I must achieve to be creative, or I must move to, it's inside of us, isn't it? It's that sense of, it's all this energy that wants to emerge or flow, but it's giving it space, and as you say, pausing and saying, what actually wants to flow through me right now?
I like to say, get out of the way as well. I'm sure you've also had this so many times, that you get this creative idea or creative inspiration, and then you think of all the blocks. What's stopping you, why you can't do it, how it's impossible. But when you actually give yourself the space to try and to fail and to discover something new, then once again, that's when you can notice and allow the magic to unfold.
I think as well, there's something, a point you're hitting on there around blocks. So I was listening to another talk there on creativity, and she was talking about that different processes are, like, so for example, writing is very isolating, because we write on our own. We might read it to somebody or not, like journaling. But then you've got something like painting a picture. Everyone can see it, or say doing a dance, or performing. You know, it's out there and everybody can see it, and let's say it's a finished product, right? But something like a book, if you're writing your book, it might be a long process that you have to go through, that there's not, that outcome isn't here right now. So that could be a block for people. It's like, oh, I need to see a result now, and that's a long process I have to go through. But there's, in that, it's like, I think it's about sitting with the block and going, what is behind that? Is it that I don't feel I'm good enough? Is it that I'm not listening to it? What is it? What's behind that block? And then, you know, if you give that space, something else might emerge. But again, I think it's about really giving space, as you say, pausing, giving it breath, and just flowing with it. Yeah, that's the way I would see it.
Yeah, and with creative blocks, like we get so stuck on, I have to do this thing and this is in my way. And when we fully embrace what is in front of us, instead of trying to push past it, then it loses that magnetism or that force that is trying to push us back.
Yeah.
When we're just accepting that the block is there, and that's okay.
That's the word, accepting and acknowledging. I'm feeling blocked right now. So, and giving that space, and then the energy might move. And also a block could be maybe because it wants to push you in a different direction.
Exactly. Maybe you're not meant to go that way.
Yeah.
And you're just so set on, I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be a firefighter, or whatever that may be. And you probably know more about this, that when we're on stage, we get to drop that persona of who we are, and we get to try on a costume of somebody else. And can you speak a little bit more into that and the vulnerability of being on stage as well?
Yeah, and I think that's what you're saying is really interesting as well, because I'm thinking of it in how we live our lives. But it's this being on stage for me. I'm in a completely creative space, open-hearted. There, I always feel like I'm really in service. So it's that sense of I'm there to entertain. I find it deeply healing on a personal level. But I think even as an audience member, say going to productions, and I love going to theatre. I find it deeply healing, depending on the production. Some scripts can really speak to your soul or speak to your heart, or so I find here's the magic, right? So you have a space, even this space, and suddenly we can change characters, and we can put on a costume and people completely transform. That's magic to me. Like how just putting on a dress or a different pair of shoes, I'm a different person. But it's kind of, I was thinking on this recently, it's like, I'm back to Joe Dispenza as well. It's that sense of, if I'm trying to create something new in my life or create a new reality for myself, it's like trying on something new. So what feeling am I trying on? Not only clothes, but could I try on the feeling of joy, or a feeling of gratitude, or whatever it is, or a feeling of abundance, and play with that in a kind of creative way. And yeah, I was thinking that as well. It's like because I'm thinking of all the different shows that I've done, and even watching other people, how people come alive. When it's almost like they're giving themselves permission to step into, to express emotions. That's the wonderful thing about it as well. You get to express emotions you might be afraid to in normal day life. But in this creative space, it's free. I mean, it's easy. It's because it's entertainment, do you know? So it's that permission to really play and be creative. And there is a vulnerability in it, because you are completely opening yourself up, but there's a freedom in it as well. And I think that brings me also to things like drama classes, like improv classes are brilliant for that, because you're getting out of your head and you don't have time to think. So you've got to use your instincts, and that can be a really creative, fun place to play.
And to break your character, quite literally, of who you are day to day.
Yeah.
And I love the piece that you mentioned where we get to try on joy, we get to try on play, we get to try abundance. That we are so busy chasing those concepts somewhere down the road that we forget that they're accessible right here, right now.
Exactly.
That we don't actually need to put in the costume. We don't have to change anything from our external reality to change. We can close our eyes and be right here, right there with that joy.
And so this is the thing, it's the whole, if I said to you right now, Klaudia, I want you to pretend that you're a princess, you know, and you're Rapunzel or whatever it is, you know, or whatever, like, or you're the captain of a ship, and you automatically would start to act like that and feel like that and walk around and play with it. So So I think use that creative energy in our everyday life. So, and I think it's a way of coming back to giving yourself that space and pausing. And this is where I think if I really feel into like, how can I use creativity to help me overcome my blocks or push through them or move through them or whatever it is, or to find new ways of being in the world, playing with that exactly. So, okay, I'm going through my day and I'm noticing, oh, I'm a bit like, I have my head down here. There's, I'm a bit like, what would you say, bored or whatever it is. And then use your creative energy to go, okay, let me play with this. Imagine that I am actually happy and I feel good and la la la. And then you change your energy.
It works once again, like night and day, like magic. You're able to shift your stages with your awareness. Yeah. But so often in the day we go, 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 go. And then we go to the end of the day, we're like, yeah, that was awful. Like, but all it takes is that moment of what do I need right now? And that was the biggest piece in my journey, was being able to be aware of my internal landscape enough to know that I need something in this moment. Yes. And that could be a cup of tea. That could be 3 breaths. That could be shaking. That could be anything, right? Or my favorite song. But when you're not aware of that and you just keep going, keep pushing against your blocks, keep pushing against what life is offering you, then it gets really hard. Yeah. I think that's really important what you said as well. It's about knowing your internal landscape. I think self-awareness is really, I think, really important. And more so recently, I'm realizing more, it's all our perception. So how can I change my perception of things? As you said, there was a sentence I read and it said, we all have 2 eyes, but we all, oh God, I wish I could remember it now. We have 2 eyes, but we see different things or something. We have a different view. That was it. Okay. So change your position, you know, so maybe don't do the same, like just if you even say internally, like saying, if I look at this from a different perspective, how might this change? And again, calling on that playfulness, play with this creativity. Like, I think that's really useful to look at it that way. Let me try through a lens of creativity here. What could a solution be, or how could I change this, or how could I see things differently? Yeah. And that's why I love Family Constellations as well, that it allows us a completely new perception that is out of our hands. To whatever we bring to the table or whatever we bring to the constellation. So for someone who might not know what constellation is, or systemic constellations, if you could give a definition or a brief
I'm happy to.
So
so family constellations is, I will say, a way or a method where usually it's done in a group in a room, but basically what we're doing is we're mapping out someone's family system. So then someone might come with an issue. I have back pain, or I have relationship issues, or I can't find work, or a repeating pattern in their life. So we look to the family system and we ask people in the group, well, the person will pick them to represent their mother, their father, their back pain, whatever it is that needs to be looked at. And then we observe the dynamics that are happening in the system, and we use healing sentences or ritual to try bring some healing, or even to find a better understanding or a way to better for the person. And then how it's applied in business then, so the systemic constellations or organizational is similar approach, except we are dealing with teams and we're dealing with strategy and purpose and values. And it's just, we can use the thing about it as well as with both family or business, you don't have to always have people. You can do it one-on-one, the process, or you can use objects. So you could use chairs, you can use the mini figurines, pieces of paper,
fruits,
and post-it notes, anything. And what we're doing is we're tapping into what's the person's perception of the situation, and what are the dynamics and relationship between the different elements or people in the system, and what needs to change here in order to free up the energy, allow more flow, so that person can move forward in their life.
Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. What I love about family constellations that it feels all encompassing in its therapeutic value, in the sense that you go to talk therapy and you're just talking, you're ruminating, you're going over the same stuff, and that works for some people. But with family constellations, you have the talking, you have the community, you have that safe space once again to let go of your attachment to whatever is happening.
Yeah.
You have somatic release, you have embodiment, you have sacred theater, because you get to embody these qualities of, for example, a loving mother or confidence or love, and then you get to carry it as a gift in your life.
Exactly.
And the whole concept of the field and the space that it's held in, that's something that always blows my mind, because in all the constellations I've been, and you've done more than I, no one has ever stood up and said, no, that's wrong.
Yeah. You summarized it beautifully. I really like your explanation. But that is it. I think like it's that energy. It's that, not that we like talking about energy, but it's the field of information that we're tuning into or distilling for that time. And I think the important thing you said there is for me is that sense of getting to represent, stand in the mother's shoes or the father's shoes or the grandmother or whatever it is, and you get to experience
without having to involve your family.
Exactly. So
that's the best part.
And they don't even have to know that you're doing the process, but the effect will ripple out. So they on an unconscious level, they might feel it. But that sense of, oh, this is what you get to experience, love or abandonment or whatever it is. And again, it's that the joy in moving through all those emotions, and the gift in being able to be in service to each other. And then the real, I don't know what the word is, but it's a gift or whatever it is for me in the work, is that when you set up constellations or you're at the workshops, everybody is really there. Like there's nothing unique or different to anybody's story, experience, or their longing. At the end of the day, we all desire love and we all desire belonging. And I was really thinking on this recently about, and you're kind of going, what happened for this love not to flow here? You know, but it's also the key thing is about including everything. So there's no judgment in constellations. It's like really giving everybody a place and giving everybody a voice, so you can understand
every feeling
and every feeling. So for example, for me to one thing that I was afraid to connect with was rage. So then then eventually I got asked to represent it, and I was like, whoa, I don't know about this, you know. And then when I did it, I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
It's empowering, right?
Yeah.
That you get. I love the piece of accepting everything that is, even the dark, because in life we're often so afraid of anger, jealousy, shame, discomfort, numbness, boredom, but they're all, once again, information. It's giving us constantly feedback of how we are in life.
Yeah.
And when we stop resisting, once again, those feelings and those emotions, that's when the creative life force can flow through.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
that's it. So it's like the resistance. So, and then it's the energy can't flow. It's like, I suppose if you think of it like a river, and there's a massive boulder in the river, and okay, the water can go around it probably, but it's like, how can we release a little bit more flow? So it's like breaking that boulder down so more of the river can flow. Yeah. But if you think of it from a body perspective, so my body is a complete system here, and if my hip is out, then that's going to put everything else a little bit out of balance, isn't it? So if I can fix that little bit of tightness in my hip or whatever it is, then my body can rebalance itself. And then sometimes you could argue that there's a reason for it. Like, so what is it that needs to be looked at? Do you know, really, that's the question. What's behind it?
Exactly. Like, in our life, we can often get physical or emotional pain and we keep ignoring it. But when we actually stop and listen, then once again, that's when we can fully tap into our own life force instead of pushing parts of ourselves into those shadows. And within the healing community, holistic work, whatever you want to call it, we so often get stuck in toxic positivity, that we have to think good thoughts, that we have to only feel good, that when we're feeling shame, anxiety, depression, sadness, then it's bad, I'm not doing good. And then we get so stuck and generate even more shame.
Yes, and there's value in those feelings as well, because if you take, let's say, anger, that's sometimes anger is it's healthy. So it's like you might need to be angry if someone does something bad to your child, for example, and it's saying no and it's asserting a boundary. So it's, and then I thinking of the polarity, like the polarity scale, isn't it? So it's like there's room for all. Sometimes we need that, sometimes we need that, and sometimes we find something in the middle, or we move between different emotions. And that's creative force energy, and it's the flow of movement, I think, as well, is really important.
And that's being in co-creation with life.
Yes.
That when you're able to embrace what is in this moment, right here in the present, not tomorrow, not yesterday, not 20 years back, that's when you're really in the flow and you're able to tap into that creative essence.
Yeah. And then I suppose the question is, how do people access, and I'm sure there's loads of books on this, the flow, you know, so what is it for you, you know?
Yeah, for me, it's exactly, we were speaking about this earlier, that I get an idea, something comes to me, and the best I can do is get out of the way.
Yeah.
And do everything I possibly can to make it happen. Because on my journey, it's always been, oh, you're not good enough, you don't have this, you need this, you blah, blah, blah. But when we get out of the way, things will happen and things will unfold. Or, you know, it doesn't have to be today, it might be 2 weeks after you've made the decision. But when you look at everything from that perspective of, I'm going to make it happen. This idea came to me because I'm uniquely gifted to be able to bring it to the world, like everyone is.
Yeah.
We all have that unique blueprint, that unique fingerprint, that secret sauce that breathes that special essence into whatever we're creating in life. And if we're able to believe in that enough to get out of the way and do everything we can to make it possible, then that's it for me. That's being in the creative flow. And often it's doing uncomfortable things. It's doing things even though I'm really afraid. It's doing things that are slightly beyond my edge, but I know they're good. You know, and it's really your whole life. You know, that I always talk about the perspective of the artist and living your life as the artist, that it's not you sitting down on the page and creating, writing, you getting on stage, done. I'm done being an artist. But once again, it's this perspective
of how you're creating your drawing or painting your own life.
Exactly, how you're interacting and co-creating with life.
Yeah. I think you hit on lovely points there. I love that secret sauce. And also the, you know, because, and also about using your gifts and talents. And I think for me, it comes back to, because this has been part of my journey, let's say, it's really valuing your gifts and talents because they are unique to you. And I think when we can really embrace them and go, this is me and it's good enough as it is, because, and allow yourself to express them. I think that's where, you know, the flow can happen as well, as you say.
Exactly.
Getting out of your way.
And people are usually afraid because they will look weird, they will fail. whatever excuse there might be, or I don't want to use the word excuse actually, because they are valid. They're there for a reason, as we talked about earlier. And
it was just when you were talking about life as well, I was thinking recently, it's like, what's my relationship with life itself? So it's that where I think the creativity is the life force energy, but it's like, am I going, oh God, things, I don't do this. This is an example.
Good.
I think life is amazing. And I take it all.
Yes.
And I'm like, what more can I do? But just say, for example, you could be like, oh God, it's so hard, and I don't know, this is all blah, blah, blah.
My job sucks. Blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
make
blah.
excuses for things and all that kind of stuff. Or how are you actually relating to life? Hello, life. I'm here for you. What do you want me to do next? Let's have a conversation.
Let's play.
Let's play.
Dance.
Exactly. And I think that's where the energy will move as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we get so stuck in our mind that X, Y, and Z happened. They're awful. This is bad. This is terrible. This is even worse.
Yeah.
And we keep going in that spiral, and there is no end to that spiral. I've been there with depression or anxiety, and there's no end. It keeps getting worse. When you're at rock bottom and you keep going down, it's just more rock bottom.
Yeah.
And the only way from that is up.
Yes.
So even when we're in that low place where we're like, it can't get any worse, well, but it can get so much better.
Exactly. And it's as Joe Dispenza would say as well, it's like uplifting yourself, isn't it? But it's also as well, there's a gift in that, in being in that place. So it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm acknowledging I'm here. What is the lesson here for me? What is the gift? Or unconsciously, who am I carrying something for? Maybe it isn't even yours.
Yeah.
Do you know, from the family constellations perspective, that traumas can get handed on, emotions and behaviors and patterns of being can get handed through generations. So this is where the work is really helpful in that sense, to look at, as you say, really looking at your inner landscape, and I say perceptions of the world and everything around it, around and everyone. That's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yes, but we make it sound so easy, but it can be hard, and that also needs to be acknowledged. And that's why places like this exist: family constellations, dance, therapy, embodiment, somatics, so people can go shed another layer and return to life from that place of, I know I want to do different, and now I have the tool to do that. I'm sure you've had moments in your life where you didn't have that necessary tool, and it's just, you're stuck.
Yeah. And what do you call on then? Like, do you know? So it's
God.
Exactly. So do you know? So God is many things for different people. But it's everyone. I was saying this the other day. Oh yeah, but when people are in times of struggle, what are they doing, or who are they praying to? Do you know, or so while people have different beliefs, and I'm not imposing my belief at all, but it's that sense of there is a higher power. There has to be a higher power. There is a creative life force that moves through us all and moves through everything. So to not believe in that, I kind of go, but it's all, there's so much evidence to say that there is, and why not believe in it anyway? Because it gives you hope and it helps lift you up.
Yeah, whatever name you want to put on it, whether it's hope, God, source, essence, life.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be weird and sticky and religious. We just make it be that way, but whatever works for you. Whether that's connecting to nature, to the sun, to, I don't know, living life for the purpose of eating. Great.
Yeah, exactly. But and then again, going back to being in the creative space, like you even doing your art or dance or movement or music or writing or whatever it is, can get you into that space as well. Do you know, when you're feeling a bit and activate that joy within. And also it's I think it's an energy exchange, I think is really important. You know, that whole give and take. I've been doing a lot of thinking and processing around that. And it's that sense of, even I'm thinking of dancing, for example, when you're dancing with somebody and there's this connection, it's absolutely magical. And that to me is that energy, that creative force. And it's like a conversation, but you're not talking to each other, you know, and you're feeling and sensing each other's energy and movements and cues through the body. And it's really powerful, I think.
And it's very different than, perhaps that raises this beautiful concept of creativity as a gift that you offer to the world. Because if we're holding on in our dance, if we're holding on in our creativity, not sharing our gifts, not sharing our words, then it's very hard for something outside of us to meet us.
Yes.
Because we're so closed up, we're holding on to this, whatever that is, and it begins to malform in us, that it starts to get sticky. We attach things to it, we add more stories, where it in its initial birth or its initial connection with us, it was just a small idea that would have brought you closer to more things that you love in life.
Exactly. And it's like when you follow the movement, follow the body, follow the movement, where, as you say, where might that bring you? It can be to other magical places or emotions or feelings. And as you were talking there, I was reminded of one of our trainers was saying the other day about if you don't sometimes say, I wanted to say something to you, and I was like, oh no, I won't say that now, because you know, she won't be prepared for what I have to tell her. I'll tell her tomorrow. And then I go, no, I won't tell her today. Then I'm excluding something in me that needs to be said or expressed. And it's a bit like the creativity as well. So if you're going, no, you're excluding parts of yourself that want to emerge or need to be expressed. And sometimes that's okay if you decide, take responsibility for it. I'm going to not ignore that. But it's just to be conscious of, the exclusion of parts of you.
Bring a bit more awareness into your life and into your creative process.
Yeah.
That how can I make this, as you mentioned in the beginning, how can I make this moment more enjoyable? How can I make it more creative? It doesn't have to be a huge 180 of your life. You don't have to quit your job, do this, do
write
that.
A book or whatever.
Write a book, Like all you have to do is, okay, I'm gonna wear fluffy socks as I write. I'm gonna wear this cardigan to work because it makes me feel good. I'm gonna have that cup of tea. I'm gonna spend 5 minutes on the bus listening to my favorite song.
Exactly. So it's questioning what does creativity look like or feel like for me, and how is it showing up in my life, or how am I expressing it in my life? I think they're the kind of questions that I would reflect on.
And it also returns to that concept of really loving yourself and giving yourself grace through whatever is happening in your life, whether creatively or spiritually or related to your body, to your relationships, whatever that may be. But just giving yourself that spaciousness to be everything you want to be, and knowing also that creativity is coming to help you on that journey.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's an element of trust there, where you have to trust life and trust that life is leading you in the best direction that it can for your ultimate growth, for your ultimate expansion. But I know in my life, it took me a long time to shift that perception of actually life is working for me, not against me.
Yeah. And actually you hit on a point there that I thought of earlier, and you reminded me again. It's the trust. I think that's trusting that the field, or trusting life, or whatever it is, and letting go. And you know, there's that sense of why judge? So when you're being creative, there's kind of no judgment really, is there? Because if you're painting a picture, you can paint what you like. If you want to dance the way you want to dance. There's no judgment around any of it. So it's kind of putting your inner critic out of the way as well, and just allowing yourself to let go and be. But I think you were mentioning earlier about getting out of your own way. And I think by getting out of your own way, you're also allowing that trust of, I'm just going to let it happen and trust that whatever is emerging is enough, you know?
And just allowing it to be whatever it needs to be. I've been really contemplating this concept that creativity comes to us with an idea in order to initiate us.
Yes.
So it's asking something of us, and it's usually to push beyond our edge, to become something we're not comfortable with, to try this new idea, to let go of these limiting thoughts, to believe in yourself, and, you know, or to incorporate more joy or play in our life, and to let go of what society is telling us to do. Well, then, wow.
Yeah. I think that's a really nice way of putting it as well. And it's like a stretching you, and it's helping you. The more I hear you speak as well, I'm having that realization that creativity helps you grow, doesn't it? And like, as you say, and kind of step out of that old reality and into a new. But it's allowing it to happen, and allowing it, I think, is the key thing. And
instilling plain fun in it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be an awful, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and write for 2 hours, and then I'm going to be a writer or an artist. Just like, sometimes my practice looks like dancing for an hour and then sitting to paint for another hour or something like that. But knowing what nourishes you, and really, once again, asking those questions of, what is my relationship to life? What is my relationship to creativity, to my resistance, to failure? And perhaps we can offer an exercise to the audience to play with.
So we could offer, you can help me out here. What do you think as well? But even just a simple thing like standing, you and your creativity, or you and creativity. But like choosing maybe an object or a piece of paper and write the word creativity, and see, so if I'm standing here and then I choose a piece of paper with creativity written on it, place it somewhere in front of you, and see how far away it is or how close it is, or when I look at this, dropping into the body and seeing what happens inside of me. Does this feel good? Do I want to move towards it? Do I want to embrace it? It's just like to check, how am I with my creativity? I think would be a nice one to do.
That's a great one, And I love, and letting yourself be led intuitively. So if you're called to pick a random object, a book, whatever it may be, fruit, box, anything, everything is information. So whatever you're choosing is completely fine, and just allow it to be, and then come back to yourself after the process is over and really investigate. Like, Family Constellation is so much about investigating and being curious about what is around us. Yes.
Yeah. It's another tool or method. I don't even want to say it's a tool, really. Actually, it's a way, but it's really useful for that investigation, as you say, but for looking into your limitations or your resistances, and where are they coming from, and are they actually belonging to you? To free yourself up.
Exactly, and to live your most authentic and expressed and beautiful life, which we all deserve.
Absolutely.
So I feel like we're coming to a natural close. And I would love if you shared where people can find you, what you're cooking up in your magical pot for the year, and any final words that you would have.
Thank you, Klaudia. I have just launched a new website. So it's www.systemicconstellations.ie. But I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook as well, Rebecca Hadrill. And I have an online workshop coming up next week in TRE, Trauma Tension Release Exercises. And then I'll be doing an in-person workshop in the Family on the 31st of this month. And
which is January.
January. Yes. January. Yes. And then I am beginning my online constellation circle starting on the 22nd of January, and it'll be once a month on a Monday evening at 7 o'clock on Zoom. I do a lot of work online. It works amazingly well. So yes.
Great. So you don't even need to leave your house.
Exactly.
Which works.
Laptop.
Yeah. And if you're curious, I feel like Family Constellations is really an experience. And allow yourself to be surprised with what comes out of it. Yeah. So,
and I suppose my final kind of thoughts on creativity, I suppose, is to just really reflect with those questions. What is it to me? What is creativity? What does it mean for me? What does it look like? How do I feel about it? And how does it show up in my life? Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways that it can, and allowing processes. It all to be. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Klaudia. Thank you.
This was wonderful, and I will catch you in the next episode.
Thank you.